Good evening, everyone. I am calling the Teaching, Learning, Equity, and Pupil Services Committee to order at 5:33 p.m. Ms. Shope, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Megan Miller is unable to be with us this evening. Tia Johnson.
Here.
And Greg Schneider.
Present.
All members are present then, except Megan Miller.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
So moved.
And I'll provide a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Can I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of September 19th, 2023?
So moved.
And I'll provide a second. Any discussion or corrections? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed, which takes us to item number 2 is information or discussion on items. Part number A is a course change and course name change proposal for explorations in health and laboratory sciences.
Apologies while we get organized.
That's okay.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Kelly Grorud, and I have with me Amy Milchatter from the MHS, the Science Department. And we are going to introduce. Am I not on? Thank you. We are going to introduce a course change for what is currently called Introduction to Biotechnology. So we have been working with the science department, so the TLE department and the science department at the high school have been working to try to make some changes that align with the academy structure that's been developing down at the high school. And one of the things that has been undergoing some changes is our health sciences pathway for students. And as a part of those conversations, we realized we really want a different kind of entry point for students into that health sciences pathway. So what we are proposing is that what is currently called Introduction to Biotechnology, which is typically a more advanced course for students, get redesigned so it can become an entry-level point for that health sciences pathway. We are not proposing major changes to the content or lab skills that are currently taught in the course. The existing course actually covers biotechnology very, very well, but what we would do is provide a specific focus within that course to health and clinical science related applications. So instead of making those applications broad, we would narrow them down to health sciences. We would also remove the chemistry prerequisite for the course, which is actually not atypical for high school introduction to biotechnology courses. Chemistry is very nice, but not necessary for students learning those lab skills. In fact, sometimes learning the lab skills first helps students learn the chemistry later on. As I mentioned, we want this to be an entry point into the health sciences pathway and provide students with an opportunity to explore health sciences careers. And so one of the revisions we want to make to this course is to make sure that we include opportunities for students to role play and actually explore different career ideas within those biotechnology area. And then, as we've been doing with many of our courses, whenever we look at our courses and do revisions, we also really take a look to try to expand student-centered experiences and any potential that we might have for adding certificates or opportunities for students within those courses. So, as I said, we see this as a introductory and very foundational part of the health sciences pathway. What this course would do is allow us to have lab skills very early on for students so that they can really explore those career paths and learn foundational lab skills that they can then take into more advanced coursework within that pathway. So you can see here the more advanced coursework we think about in terms of microbiology and anatomy and physiology. So we're really teaching lab skills, analytical skills, critical thinking skills within science through that course. Then we also see through this pathway opportunities for students as they're exploring those health sciences career paths to maybe have some more interest in some of our experiences that we have for students that are at the higher end. So CNA certificates, the EMT certificate, and upper level courses. And in fact, we're redesigning or designing a course right now that we think could be a capstone experience for students. And then of course, students also have a whole a wide array of options of advanced and AP coursework that they can continue to take to round out that experience. Because we've been offering the course, there aren't a lot of resources that we're requesting as a part of this course. The major resource is really curriculum time for our teachers to help redesign those experiences in the units that they'll be teaching. And then the lovely thing about teaching high school science is that there's a whole wealth of open educational resources, really high quality materials that we can draw from that don't actually cost the district any money. So we'd be using those as well to supplement actually what exists as a current textbook for the course. And then we've done some work to think about what this course could look like and what the major topics or units could be. So we're thinking that there would be an introduction, some safety, ethical considerations for doing lab work. Students would then get probably the strongest foundational piece of this course, which is on the molecular biology side, so really understanding the structure and function of DNA, RNA, and proteins, which is foundational to learning biotechnology. And then they'd also learn about both the natural biological processes and how biotechnology and biotechnologists use those processes to actually start to engineer the world. We give students some hands-on experience with labs. We've got a lot of really great lab equipment at the high school already, so we'd be able to utilize that in this course. And then, as I said, we do some exploration, so we think about biotechnology and medicine, some social and ethical implications for biotechnology related to healthcare and medicine, and then that health careers exploration within biotechnology. And then as we've been designing these courses, we also want some career reflection and some points where students think about then how does biotechnology apply to them directly. And this does support NGSS standards. I've got them listed there, primarily from what's called LS1 and LS3, which really think about how does molecular biology impact organisms, and then how do we understand the biological processes that macromolecules use. So that's it. That's our proposal. That's what we're recommending to move forward.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
No.
No. I like the way that this is moving through, and again, tying everything into the careers and focusing on not just one specific, but a variety of health sciences, and beginning to move students into that pathway. That's really what we need to be doing, and I do greatly appreciate the work that's gone into this and the work that will go into it to take it forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Schopp, do we vote on this evening and pass it forward? Okay. Okay. Next up is the new course proposal for Spanish in Careers and Community.
Good evening, and thank you, TLE committee for having us tonight. My name is Tony Bosco. I'm the Director of Instructional Leadership and Equity here in the School District Beloit, and I have with me the esteemed department chair of the World Languages Department at Beloit Memorial High School, home of the Purple Knights, Julie Horvath, and we're glad to be here tonight to talk to you about Spanish for Careers and Community, a new course proposal. Essentially, this course proposal really focuses on 3 areas. First It's a course that's going to really allow students to apply the Spanish that they're learning at the intermediate high level. So we're starting at the end of our dual language immersion program to really get towards exit and toward the seal of biliteracy. And this course is a course that's going to really allow them in school and the community to apply the language that they've developed over the number of years that they've been in the dual language or the world language programs. It's also going to provide access to courses for a whole range of language learners at the high school level. That would include dual language students, heritage Spanish speakers, our multilingual learners, as well as those students who are learning Spanish as a second language. So any of those students will have access to this course, again, to use that as an application of the language skills that they're developing. And then lastly, the purpose of this course is to really align with college career readiness, with the career academies that you referenced in the previous presentation, and really starting to understand and kind of visualize how being bilingual applies to those career and college choices that students will make in the future. Something else that's very interesting that we're starting to develop more and more is this idea of the seal of biliteracy as an industry recognized credential. The school district Beloit More High School offers lots of these opportunities for our learners, and the seal of biliteracy and the global achievement certificate is another example, two prime examples of things that are recognized in the community as capstones that increase their ability to engage in business or academia. Essential questions for this course essentially focus on recognizing and encouraging students to think about their place in the world from a multilingual and a multicultural perspective. So again, when we talk about the application of language to the community, to the world, you start to think about language a whole lot differently than just learning how to use words in context. When you're reading a text or something, you're actually out in the world using that language, which is a whole different vibe for the application of that. And then also framing language proficiency as a source, as a resource from both an economic and a civic perspective. So helping students understand that they're not only able to leverage their multilingualism in the community to serve and support and give back, but also from an economic perspective and how that can enhance their marketability as employees in the workforce. These are the Wisconsin World Language Standards, and these standards align with the American Council of Teachers of Foreign Language standards. And so this is a beautiful opportunity for us to see the actual things that students will be doing in the learning that they're doing through this course. That's interpretive communication, interpersonal, presentational communication, and then intercultural and global competence and community engagement. Again, each one of these areas, you can see it going from kind of shoulder partner work in the classroom between students or maybe between a student and a teacher, and then carrying all the way out in the community as far as the application of those language skills outside of the classroom. As we continue to grow the dual language program and continue to refine our seal of biliteracy kind of course offering sequence as a capstone, this course really meshes well with that because it has three primary components that align with the seal. First of all, it's academic rigor. Students have to earn certain credits in English and then a second language. Also demonstrating social cultural competence, and then lastly, demonstrating that high-level language proficiency according to that Apple assessment, which all of our students will take, and they have to earn an intermediate high, I believe, to actually demonstrate language proficiency and earn the seal of biliteracy. That's a pretty rigorous language standard that they must meet. And then lastly, looking at the activities that students will be a part of. These are really encouraging students, as they matriculate through the dual language or the world language program, they really transition from just learning the language to thinking about language. And that whole kind of switch to metalinguistics as they age through the program, become more and more refined and detailed and proficient in the language, really allows them to be more multiculturally prepared to go out into the world and engage with the various language diversities, cultural diversities, and I think that's something that's very important. The other part of this course that's very interesting is this kind of socio-cultural component where students are kind of looking at language, but then how does it apply to the community? How does it apply to the nation? How does it apply to the world? And starting to really think of language in a much different frame outside of the four walls of the classroom, to beyond. Ms. Horvath, did I miss? I told her if I stumble and I start going down, she's got to come get me. So do you guys have any questions for us?
Any questions or comments? I have no questions. Again, I'm just excited as we add more options for students, and especially when the outcome of this is going to provide some things that are really going to be beneficial for students into the future. So I'm really excited about this course. And I know that just learning the language in the classroom is good. You can do that. But if you don't use it, you forget it. After all my years in German, but all I remember is Ich nicht sprechen Sie Deutsch, which is, no, I don't speak German. I don't remember much of anything else. Where I think this really takes that to the next level of really making them use the language and to think about it. And that's, a great step for our students. So thank you very much for the course
Thank you.
proposal. Okay. Next new course proposal is the overview of special
I
education.
can do it. Yeah, I'll put it up. That's the, do you want let me just, there's CT, I'll bring special ed up also. And then I'll go back here. And then I'm gonna share. And then
That's the proposal.
EDU, right?
Well, we need to go to slideshow, not the PDF. If you would open up.
Oh, I don't have the slideshow.
It's the second one on there. If you go back to that board docs.
No, that's CT.
Yeah, this is a slideshow right here.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was.
That's what you want?
Yep.
So that's this one, right? CT? Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we're Good evening. I'm Jeff Stenders, the Director of Career Tech Ed and Alternative Education, and I have my esteemed teacher from Beloit Memorial, Rachel Shepard. First of all, I'd like to, as my colleagues have pointed out, these new course proposals are a part of the growing and solidifying of our pathways. And if I didn't acknowledge Deb Prouse, who has done an extraordinary job over the last year in pulling together our pathways from 30-some pathways down to 15 and working with Emily and her high school administrative staff to do that. And that has led the way to saying, here's what we have. What else can we do? So I want to put that to the forefront because everybody's mentioned that, but that's through the work that's already happened with Deb at the high school. So thank you very much. So this is, of course, overview of special education. It has EDU written in front of it, and that's very specific. And this is part of growing our pathway that we currently have from early childhood education and now adding older kids for education if they're going to look to be a teacher, grades 3 through 9. Rachel is a rock star teacher. The early childhood program is amazing, does wonderful things, and now we're looking at expanding that to not just early childhood to another level with this. It has the EDU in front of it because this is a class that aligns with Black Hawk Technical College. So it's a dual credit transcripted class that would be in there, and it follows their syllabus and their standards that they've set for that piece of it. So not only is it something that we will do for our education pathway, but it also allows that to have transcripted credit, follow an education path, not just at Black Hawk, but if they want to go to Whitewater, Viterbo, there's a number of institutions for this. So that's really where this course comes along, adding to what we already have, but aligning with what there is in post-secondary options for our students. Anything I missed, Ms. Shepard?
No. Any questions?
Any questions at all? I have none. I think it's, again, another great opportunity for our students and a way to continue to expand our options and move students forward. I know for education and for even special education, getting that experience in school can make a real difference in moving people towards education. To do that, I started and got interested in special education when my older brother did an Eagle Scout project and did a program at now a day rehab center, when I was, 16, I believe. And that's taken me through 40-plus years in special ed. And so it's just that hands-on experience really just makes the real difference to it. And the more options we have, the better we have for our students, better options for them. So again, thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
So
Okay, introduction to robotics.
I need to,
I think you need to unshare and then reshare.
just so I can,
Go to the unshare.
oh, want this one here. Stop presenting,
Okay.
and
Now
then
present again, and you should just,
go to the agenda. It's
what is it?
this one.
There you go. Now you can go back and share.
Do I have the right one? Oh, yeah. No. We have PDFs and we have. Tony, I don't see it on here with there. Okay, so is it? It should be this one.
I thought you just had it up. Intro
Yeah.
to robotics, yeah.
Yeah, but if I go to share,
Intro to robotics. Is it just yeah? Click that and see. Click the intro to robotics and see.
where, right here.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just thought it was PDF. Okay, thank you. My technical assistant, Tony Bosco. Bills in the mail. I like the checks in the mail. Thank you. Yeah. So we have another course. Brian Michaels, our department chair, has proposed this along with the rest of our tech ed team, and this is an introduction to robotics. And this proposal is, again, to expand our pathways, particularly our engineering and IT pathways, and blending also into manufacturing. But this comes out of a need from industry standards. And as was in the course proposal, the robotics area has something that's been growing. Our local partners are saying that kids that having some robotics experience would set them up for this. And so we offer a robotics course in middle school, automation and robotics through Project Lead the Way. And so we already have a introductory piece of it, but we don't have anything that extends that at the high school level. And so this is a piece that would be offered as an introductory class. It has industry recognized credentials that are related to robotics if we pursue this through the welding and IT fields. Our welding teacher would love to go ahead and get a robotic arm. We would love to incorporate that with CNC, but we need to back up and start someplace, and that's where the introduction to robotics comes through with that. It does blend in with our welding, CNC, engineering, and IT pathways. Because we have the current staffing, we would look at how we reallocate within a current staffing. We're not adding an FTE for this. We're looking at how do we readjust our CTE allotment right now. Again, and not exactly positive on how and who that would be the person to teach that, but we do have some ability because it overlaps multiple areas. The VEX parts that we use for our automation and robotics program for the middle school, the Project Lead the Way has formally moved to an upgrade. So we have these other parts, and the other parts can be used for our Introduction to Robotics course at the school. So we already have the bulk of the supplies from our other robotics courses. In fact, our IT programming is using some of those as well. So the standards that this touches on are part of those. There's Wisconsin Common Career Technical Standards, which we put in there, but there's also specific engineering and technology standards that are another level down with that. And we would develop those as we tied it to directly which aspects of which classes go into welding, CNC, even cabinetry, made cabinetry, and the programming that goes along with that. So there's lots of areas to move into. We've looked at this as an introductory, but then trying to find how do we fit into those very specific pathways so that it grows and allows them to take the upper level courses of it. But we had to start with an introduction class to begin with. So that's where this proposal is coming from, meeting our industry needs, looking at expanding our pathways. in multiple areas, and we'll kind of let the industry partners guide as to where they really see that this is the most helpful, and our teachers. Like I said, I have a welding teacher who has sent me pictures and orders for a robotic welding arm already, but we need to make sure that we get kids to get ready up to that. So I already have them waiting on the back end, and we want to start with this and expose our kids to this and start to grow our robotics program.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I have a question. The robotics class at the middle school level, is that an elective course or a required course?
It is an elective course. It's for 7th and 8th graders. It's part of our Project Lead the Way. So again, there's options for students to take, and they can take that at 7th or 8th grade class.
And do you know the general demographics of the students taking that class? Is it pretty much 50-50 gender and, racially, what the makeup is?
That I don't know offhand, having just anecdotally been in the classroom and seeing it is a mix of, males, females, people of different colors. There's a lot of kids that are in that, but I don't know that specifically offhand. It is, dealing with programming and robotics and making things go. Kids are just interested in that. So, but I can certainly get that information and pull that from Skyward for you.
Right. And kids usually are interested in that. I'm just concerned, I read a lot about how frequently girls and minorities and students in poverty miss opportunities, particularly in the middle school and transitioning into high school. It's not cool to be a geek or a nerd or anything like that, which I try to let them know it's absolutely okay and it's really cool. But so I'm just concerned, and this is probably outside of your venue, but so what are we doing to encourage non-traditional students to continue in these studies?
So that's actually one of the goals of mine, working with CT at the high school and at the middle schools. But also with that, I work with Kelly, my cohort there, about trying to get females into science, engineering, students, some that are underserved, and putting them through this. One of the other pieces is with this is it gives purpose to our robotics class in middle school to say that there is an extension, because when you just offer it and it's a dead-end class, there isn't anything there. And now that if there would be a pathway to say, hey, we have robotics at the high school, this leads into it, it also gives that middle school spot more purpose, and maybe we can target even more at that point in time.
Wonderful. Thank you.
About 30%? See, I told you I have a wonderful colleague, Kelly. 30% female in automation robotics right now at Fruzen.
Okay. I did notice in the course proposal that the funding source from this is coming out of Perkins funds.
Perkins and or Act 59. So the Perkins funds are due in April for the next year. So if this was a class, we would put it in there. Act 59 is the Career Technical Incentive Grant for the industry recognized credentials. So this is CTE specific funding that we would look to go ahead and put for this.
Okay. As I look at it, robotics is an important thing that's happening, and you find it more and more in surprising places. In fact, at Mercy Hospital in Janesville, all of the medication is pulled together by robots. So the orders get put in, and the robots pull the medication and put them in the bins to go out onto the floors. So we think of the big robots that we see in industry, but there are also smaller ones that do a lot of other applications. Again, a great proposal to add interest into what we're doing and to engage students in skills for the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you had to answer your question, it's 40% female.
Okay.
I just gotta get this.
Okay, that finishes the item 2, so we'll move on to item 3, an action item for course name changes. The first one is pre-calc.
I don't need my computer for this. I don't know why I brought it up here, but I will talk about it anyway. So
The math department is proposing a change from pre-calculus as a course title to AP pre-calculus. This is actually a reflection of the work that they've been doing with students for the past few years in that course. They do follow the College Board course outline, and they have for some time, but they've never renamed the course to AP. So we are recommending that we make that switch. To be honest to students about the academic rigor that's in that course, and also to encourage students to actually take the AP exam as a result of taking that course. And this makes sense because on college campuses, pre-calculus is the equivalent of college algebra and trigonometry. So this actually aligns with that philosophy of AP. Yep.
I do have one. Are there other pre-calculus courses that are non-AP if students want to take something that's
No,
not
not at this time, but students are not required right at this time to take the exam. So, yep. Yep.
Okay. Great. I have no questions or comments. Thank you. Okay. We'll wait and take action at the end on all of the course changes instead of individually. Is that okay? Okay. Next one is Jazz 1.
Is it okay if I talk about Jazz 1 and Jazz 2 together? Is that all
Absolutely.
right? All right. These are fairly straightforward. Jazz 1 and Jazz 2, as you might guess, the 1 and the 2 are a little ambiguous to students. So they would like to, the music department is proposing changing Jazz 1 to Jazz Orchestra to signify to students that it is the orchestra class, and then Jazz 2 to Jazz Ensemble to signify that they do more small ensemble work.
Okay. Any questions or comments? No? Okay. The Varsity Women's Choir.
Varsity Women's Choir, the music department is also proposing a name change to this course to make the title more inclusive. We've had students who are not women want to participate in Varsity Women's Choir, and so they would like to change the name to Varsity Treble Choir to be more inclusive to students of all genders and gender identity.
Okay. Anything else? No? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
ECE 1, ECE 2.
EC1, EC2, EC3, and child development. I'm going to lump all 4 of them in together. As you can tell, early childhood education 1, 2, and 3 doesn't really give you much of a descriptor and call it what it is. These are courses that Rachel Shepard already teaches. They are aligned with Blackhawk Technical College. They are transcripted credits and courses already, and so we're looking to change the name so that it matches the Blackhawk Technical College name and gives a bit more of a descriptor for each one of the classes. And the last one is, so EC1, 2, and 3 now have an actual title as to what they cover with it. The child development is the same class, it just puts ECE, which is a label that has the from the Blackhawk Tech College. So our high school transcript will now read exactly what the Blackhawk Tech College transcript would read if we made this course changes.
Okay. Questions? I just noticed that ECE 2 is changed to EDU as far as an acronym.
Yes, and that is, and Rachel, can correct me if I'm wrong, that's the change from just our early childhood education pathway. That's a general education one and can be then used as a springboard to other educational areas as opposed to just early childhood, which the other ones are limited to.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, the last one, American minorities.
Go ahead.
Okay, great.
The proposal for this course change just comes from essentially going along with more inclusivity and to change essentially the course name so that it is more representative of culturally relevant pedagogy and, as I said, inclusivity. So to go from American minorities to American diversity.
Right.
That's the plan.
Great. Thank you. Anything there? Okay, I have no questions. Again, thank you. Okay. Let me get to the right page here. Can I have a motion to approve the course name changes and to send this to the full board for The original name was Pre-Calc, Jazz 1, Jazz 2, Varsity's Women Choir, Early Childhood Education 1, 2, and 3, Child Development and American Minorities.
So moved.
I will second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. These will be sent to the full board. Great. Okay. And that comes to the, our next meeting date will be Tuesday, November 21st at 5:30 PM. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Great. Thank you also very much for your hard work on the courses.
All right, it's 6:30. You all ready? All right. I'm going to call to order the October 17th, 2023 Human Resource Committee meeting at 6:30 p.m., 6:31 p.m. Mrs. Shope, could I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Tia Johnson,
Here.
Brian Nichols,
Here.
Brian Anderson.
Here.
Megan Miller is unable to join us this evening. Amy Levy,
Here.
Greg Schneider,
Here.
and Sean Levy. All members are present except Megan Miller.
Is there a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
It's been moved by Board Member Levy. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Board Member Schneider. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Is there a motion for the approval of the minutes?
So moved.
It's been moved by Board Member Levy,
I'll second.
seconded by Board Member Brian Anderson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Does anyone have a need to go into closed session?
I do.
Okay, a motion may be made to convene the Human Resources Committee into closed session pursuant to Section 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses C, of the Wisconsin State Statutes relative to considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? Okay. It's been moved by Board Member Levy, seconded by Board Member Nichols. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Shope, can you give us a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Greg Schneider,
Aye.
Amy Levy,
Aye.
Brian Anderson,
Aye.
Brian Nichols,
Aye.
Tia Johnson,
Aye.
Sean Levy.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, so we will go into closed session and reconvene to take action on anything discussed in closed session and receive questions for open session items. Boom, 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 boom. Close out your open session tab. Dr. Garrison, we're going to go to closed session. Boom, boom. Okay, the Human Resources Committee has reconvened in public session, in order to take any action if necessary on items discussed in closed session. Do we have any questions on Exhibit A or B for open session?
I just have one question on Exhibit B. Can you just confirm that we aren't over or exceeding any of the caps outlined in the most current addendum matrix?
Yes, good evening, Board. I can definitely confirm for you that these are being kept track of, especially the ones that are split in multiple ways.
Thank you so much.
Okay, is there a motion for,
I move approval of employee recommendations Exhibit A and B.
Second.
all right, it's been moved to accept Exhibit A and B, seconded by Board Member Amy Levy, seconded by Board Member Brian Nichols. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, signify by saying aye.
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 The motion passes unanimously. And down to our next meeting date. Our next meeting date is Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 at 6:30 PM. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So move.
Second.
So moved by Board Member Amy Levy, seconded by Board Member Brian Nichols. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. We are adjourned. guess I'll lead us. I'm going to call to order the Tuesday, October 17th, 2023 regular board meeting to order at 7 p.m. Mrs. Shope, could I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Megan Miller is unable to be with us this evening. Greg Schneider,
Present.
Amy Levy,
Here.
Brian Anderson,
Here.
Brian Nichols,
Here.
Tia Johnson,
Here.
and Sean Levy.
Present.
All members are present except Megan Miller.
All right. Just a minute. So the Board of Education would like to let our families and viewers know that our regular board meetings are being simultaneously interpreted. You can watch the Spanish interpreted meeting through the link found at the board website under the Watch Meetings tab with tonight's date. In order to accommodate this interpretation, we will be monitoring the pace of our meeting to allow time for the interpretation, and I'd like to remind our board members and other speaking to please speak one at a time. Thank you so much for your consideration and understanding. Is there a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Brian Anderson and seconded by Board Member Brian Nichols for approval of the agenda. Is there any discussion?
If we can move item 7, future meeting dates, after item 5, consent agenda, I think that might be helpful.
Okay. Except, okay. So we've had a motion to approve the agenda and moving to item 7, future meeting dates. Is that after the consent agenda, before we go to executive session?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion is approved. I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Turn my camera back on. All right. Mr. Shope, do we have public comment?
No, I do not have any public comment.
Okay. And we are on to item 3A, student board reports, and we have with us Connie. Say your last name one more time for me.
Aquali.
Aquali. All right, our student board report.
So, hello guys. My name is Connie Aquawi. I am your student board representative for this year, and I currently am a senior at Bullard Memorial High School. So, on the 6th of October, I started sending out forms for both the student and teacher body to express both concerns and praises of how the school year has been going. And many of our Beloit Memorial students have expressed how some of them feel overwhelmed when they were introduced to this new section called Flex Time. Flex Time is a period before their second block where you can sign up for different classes or counseling care, etc., if you need to get assistant for certain classes and such. An example would be a student signing up for assistance from Mrs. Powers for her sociology class. They would sign up on this website called FlexiSketch, and then they would stay the whole period with that teacher. And their main concern is the fact that they are not really allowed by certain teachers to leave the room, whether it is for going to their locker and getting something they have forgotten, or to even use the bathroom. They expressed their concerns on mainly not being able to use the bathroom, since it is something that's very important. And I started speaking to Beloit Memorial's principal, Emily Pels, to help find common ground on how to make sure our students can have access to using the bathroom while still exhibiting the responsible behavior they need for flex time. The next part I have is praise. So many of our Beloit Memorial Knights have been feeling grateful for their teachers, since many of them are actually making the classroom feel like home and are understanding the day-to-day challenges that come into learning. Some staff members also are thankful for our Beloit Memorial administration, who constantly help guide our students day to day and have more appearance all around the building. This is something that matters when making the decisions on their behalf. Although there is much more praise, there are also some small concerns. Another concern that portrays mainly to you guys is the fact that there is no GPS within our buses that can actually help guide a driver other than the maps that they are provided, which can make going to certain destinations, whether it's for a game or getting to school on time, very difficult. Many are asking if you guys can help provide this service to make sure our students don't have another barrier in their life and can actually utilize our transportation services to the fullest. Also, I would like to bring up that the student excellence within the school district is getting more attention, whether it is my peers, Francisco Bolaños Ramirez or Gloria Solis, reading off their Hispanic heritage essays, or my other peer, Sarah Ramsden, heading off to state in golf, or even Mr. Walker's Latino Studies class creating a documentary. The community has been uplifting our students for their accomplishments and understanding that they are not only a wonderful example of today, but also tomorrow's leaders. In conclusion, I am here to set the concerns and praises down to you guys here today. I hope you guys hear both the student and teacher body without installing personal belief. These people make our future and deserve to have each request considered, and I am putting forth the effort to help communicate these issues, which I would look forward to sharing the progress of as we move forward. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you, Connie. All right. Actually, don't have a board president report. Superintendent board report.
Yes, can everyone see the screen? Just want to make sure that's,
We can see the screen, but it's not in presentation mode, though.
it's not in presentation mode?
Yeah,
Give me a second.
slideshow at the, yep.
All right, perfect. Well, first of all, let me say again, thank you, board. Thank you, Connie, for your report. Thank you to the School District of Beloit for everything that has happened over this past month. I am very excited as pertains to kind of where we are right now as a school district. I know there are some things, of course, we're always going to be working on, but I can't ask for a better first month or so of a school year. One of the things that I've been working very closely with over these past few days here is looking at our enrollment. Naturally, we do have a enrollment conversation that I'm going to jump right into today because that's the meat of my report. But please, again, if you have any questions at the end of this presentation, feel free to ask. I also have Mrs. Beavers also assisting me in this conversation today in my absence. But again, it's an open conversation for us all to have. As we think about pupil count, there are some key terms I just need everybody to kind of ground themselves with. Membership is all students who have residency in the school district of Beloit. So that's everybody who has a residency in the school district of Beloit. Enrollment is a head count of all students enrolled in the school district of Beloit, regardless of residence. Open enrolled in, students attending the school district of Beloit who reside outside of our district. And open enrolled out, resident students attending a public school outside of the school district of Beloit. And so for this very short presentation, those are the four terms that I want to kind of ground us in. These terms are used throughout the state, especially when you're thinking about our overall pupil count. before I go to the next slide, there were a lot of things that we did over this past summer to really kind of get us to the place that we are now. One of the things that we did was really up our summer engagement opportunities. We didn't want the school year to end and then feel like we didn't have another connection with our families until the new school year started. And I've said that before, but I think it's real important, and it's an important conversation in this presentation for today. Second thing that we really did is we moved our enrollment date back. Typically, we would do all-school enrollment in August. We moved that back to the middle of July this past time around, and I believe that was a huge benefit for our school district. Look at our overall conversation on these next few slides. So let's just take a look at our membership history, okay? This is, again, all the students that are in the school district of Beloit, and this is a very important slide here. Our third Friday membership, as you can see, in 2021-22 was at 6,100. 2022-2023 was at 5,900, and 2023-24 this year we're at 5,800. I think it's very important to note that over the years we've experienced anywhere from 300 to 400 or so students in a decline. This year we have experienced a difference of about 98 students. As we continue the conversation, another big thought is the third Friday enrollment. I know everyone has probably heard, well, what was the third Friday count? What's the third Friday count? And like I shared in a previous conversation, our third Friday count is actually over three different days. Third Friday is a third Friday count, but it also looks at a Thursday and the following Monday. As you can tell, our third Friday count from 2021-2022 was 5,500, 2022-2023, 5,100, a difference of almost 400 students. And then, of course, this year, the snapshot on the third Friday count was 5,044. That's a difference of about 102 students. That's a different drop for us because we've experienced higher drops, of course, over the many years. One of the things that I'll predicate this conversation to, again, is this is the snapshot of what we were able to capture on this specific day. Another very important conversation to our enrollment is our open enrolled in and open enrolled out conversation on third Friday. Our open enrolled in conversation, so if you look at the left side of the screen, well, my left, I'm not sure if that's your right, but my left, we will see 2021 we had 124 students that open enrolled into our district. 2022 we had 123, and 2023 to this year we had 112 that open enrolled into our school district. On the other side of that conversation, you have to talk about open enrolled out. When we're looking at open enrolled out, you have 868 students in the 2022 year. It went up in the 2023 year to 921. And this year we are down from 921 to 913. These numbers are very important to our enrollment conversation because naturally we would like to see more of those open enrolled out students stay here with us in our school district. But it's just as important as we get more students in our district as well in the open enrolled in conversation. This has been an ongoing conversation in the school district of Beloit since I arrived, but I wanted to make sure I gave you all the numbers as we see them from the third Friday count. Currently, right now, in our school district, we have 5,186 students. This is a positive number for us because if you go back to our third Friday count a couple of weeks ago, we're at 5,044. And now, as you take a snapshot of today, well, in this case, I want to say that was yesterday, you will see 5,186. So again, that third Friday count is a snapshot of what we can capture on that third Friday. This is what we look like as it pertains to right now. That is the cusp of this conversation. This is the information that is, of course, also shared with the state. It's a little different from the conversation that we'll have in November when we'll look at our overall enrollment trends for our city, but this is our third Friday count for our district. And then now I'll turn it back over to Board President Levy for any questions. Before I do that, again, I want to make sure I put the thanks out there to the people who have helped me get this conversation together, all the enrollment conversations from the open enrollment office, from the enrollment office, we call it the CEO. We also want to thank all of our principals, of course, all of the parents who also decided to stay with us here in the school district of Beloit. I think it's very important to note as well, of course, all of the conversations that were had throughout the summer about just staying with us and being a part of our great school district. And again, now I'll turn this conversation back over to Mr. Levy.
Okay, are there any questions by board members to the superintendent?
I have one. Could someone go back to the open enrollment out slide? Dr. Garrison, just for clarity, is it possible that one student could be in each of those three counts, starting at 2021-22 to 2023-24?
I'll let Mr. Chady answer that question. Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint those thoughts, but I don't want to be.
Mrs. Beavers is nodding her head yes, which you can't see. So the point that I just wanted to clarify so no one panicked, those aren't new students leaving our district every year. It's possible, depending on the grade, in the 21-22 school year, it could be the same student that remained out of the district. So I just wanted to make that point clear.
That's correct.
One question for you, Dr. Garrison. So which number gets put into the funding formula from the state? You know, we talk about we get, X amount of dollars per pupil, and I think it's important to know which number gets put into that. As you pointed out, kind of the definition of all these different amounts.
Mm-hmm. So membership is the one that's highly calculated, but Mr. Chady is there as well. He can answer more in detail that thought since I'm not in the room.
Yeah, so the slide that's presented there, the 23-24, the 5845 number is a component within the revenue limit, and then added to that, and it's added by the state, not by the district, is the number of local residents, students attending an independent charter school, i.e. the Lincoln Academy. So independent charter schools report their enrollment in membership numbers directly to the DPI as well, not through local school districts, but the state combines all of that value or those two values then for revenue limit purposes.
So the emphasis on the third Friday count number, that is not a big impactful number on the revenue piece then?
It is. So
it is.
Third Friday count is really two different tracks. So third Friday count tells you what your enrollment is, what your head count is, your butts in seats on the third Friday in September. And then that is the first step of a multi-step process in computing membership within the revenue limit.
Okay, so then when we get a bigger number, he pointed out now on October 16th, whatever, where that number has enrollments up to 5186, I just want to be sure that the difference between those, let's just call it 100 for round math,
Yep.
that are we being delivered revenue for those students?
You're not currently, but we do a second Friday in January pupil count date as well. So that then is another snapshot in time. And between those two count dates, we're required to reconcile any students that move in and any students that move out. Those two numbers then factor into the equalization aid formula for future revenues for the district. So it all has a large part to play, yes.
So it's all really super simple.
Not really, no. And you may look at and think, okay, so we went from a 5,000 low number to a 5186, an increase of 100, 120, 40, whatever that difference is in a 3-4 week period of time. That's pretty normal. Coming from smaller districts that I was in, the amount of transition that you would have of students that were enrolled on the third Friday departing the district, and then students coming into the district from elsewhere between the count dates, It's a lot. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Mr. Chady,
Yeah.
so you mentioned the charter school numbers are part of the membership. I thought also the private school was also.
So private school is not, they are resident students, but they are not attending a public educational institution.
Okay.
So resident students attending Rock County Christian, Our Lady of Assumption, et cetera, are not included. We do not receive revenues for them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah.
Unless they take 2 or more classes with us.
Say that again?
Unless they are enrolled in 2 or more classes with the school district.
Who is asking this question? I'm sorry.
So Mr. Nichols was asking about the private school enrollment along with the charter school enrollment, and I'll kind of throw another question out there too, just for since we're talking about open enrollment or the third Friday count, but like for the revenue purposes, you know, the students that are going out to the private schools and the students that are going out to the charter schools, the funding comes to the district, and then we have to send that out to the places that they have gone because they're providing educational services for the students that do reside in the district. That's how that works? And with those numbers, because I know some of the numbers are in there and some of the numbers are not in that.
In principle, that's correct. I think some parties would argue the semantics of how you stated that may not necessarily be correct. So expenses from the school district going out to support students attending elsewhere, open enrollment, private school choice program, independent charter school programs, that does get discounted from school district revenues through the revenue limit, or I'm sorry, through the June final payments that we receive from the state. Yes, so they are local district dollars that are exiting the district to support those students.
Anybody else with other questions?
One more based on what Mrs. Beaver said. So do we have students who do what you just said, take 2 or more classes?
Very few.
Very few.
Like I can think of 2.
Okay, right.
But we do have them.
Okay.
Yeah, not common, but.
Yes, good. Washington. Can I just say this real quick, Board President Levy? I think it's also very important to note that, enrollment is still a moving target as well. It's one of those things that, like my team has mentioned, one day we could be at 5186. Something could happen. Parents could leave, transient families. We do have a large homeless population here, and so that number could jump up as well very, very quickly throughout the school year. Our goal is, again, to no matter who are in our school district, that we service them at the highest level.
Also, part of the report you're noting is that we had less students leaving in our enrollment. We had a higher numbers, which is a major part of the report. So
That's correct.
people are choosing to stay.
I think it's a conglomerate of things too. I think you have to remember that our goal is, again, to have the best product in the city. I do believe we have the best product in the city. I've made it known that our reach in Beloit is still developing, and I know that we can continue to do the great jobs that we've been doing. We will continue to see more and more families come back to our school district.
All right, thank you. Committee and other board reports: Business Operations and Finance Committee, Teaching, Learning, Equity, and Pupil Service Committee, Governance Committee, Legislative Update, and Policy Committee.
The Business Operations and Finance Committee has not met since our last meeting.
Teaching, Learning, Equity, and Pupil Services.
Teaching, Learning, Equity, and Pupil Services met earlier this evening. We had one course change and a course name change to better align the curriculum with the academies that we're using. To 2 explorations in health and laboratory sciences, 3 new exciting courses that are proposed, Spanish for Careers and Community, overview of special education, and introduction to robotics. Those will come back to committee next month. But we also had 9 other courses where we looked at changing the name of the course to better fit the description of what the course does, and to better align it within the academy system.
Okay. The Governance Committee has not met. Legislative update. Okay, it's Megan. And then Policy Committee.
Policy Committee will meet next on Wednesday, November 1st at 5:30.
Okay. We're now on to 5, the consent agenda. Typically there's no separate discussion on the items unless a board member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the general order of business and considered in their normal sequence on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda?
I like items A and O removed.
A and O. Anybody else?
C and T is in Tom.
So that's A, C, O, and T. Anybody else? All right. Is there a motion for the approval of the consent agenda minus A, C, O, and T?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Amy Levy, seconded by Brian Anderson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We'll start with A, course name changes.
Yeah, so the only question I have here is, and just because I don't know, so, I understand the logic for changing varsity women's choir to varsity treble choir. Do we have a varsity men's choir?
I do not think we have a varsity men's choir.
Okay. So I guess my thought is there a reason why so is everyone able to enroll in that class then? Yes. Okay,
Yes.
very good.
Anybody else with proposed name changes? Course name changes? Okay, is there a motion for approval of A?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Brian Anderson and seconded by Brian Nichols. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And C, homebound instruction.
The only question I had is just in some of the eligibility questions that you've got there, do we have any issue with HIPAA regulations in asking those questions? Just, I don't know the answer, that's why I'm asking, but I remember that from the past, so.
I don't see any HIPAA violations in this conversation.
And one way to look at it is this isn't something that's imposed on a student or family. Usually it's the student or family that's requesting the homebound instruction.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Is there a motion for approval of C?
So moved.
Second. Second.
Been moved by Amy Levy, seconded by Brian Nichols. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We're on to O, before and after school childcare programs.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so my only question there is, I love, working with, partners in the community. So my only question is, when we open the school up to these groups, are these not all not-for-profit groups, whether it's Boys and Girls Club or Community Action, whatever? What I'd hate to see is XYZ daycare using our facilities for profit purposes. That's my only concern there.
Board Member Levy, do you mind if I
Go
respond?
for it.
Sure. So so when we talk about partnerships, naturally our partnerships come with a history. We just don't, of course, partner with anyone. There's also regulations in which you can actually partner as well. There's insurances that you have to cover. There's a policy that speaks to I shouldn't say policy. There's an activities opportunity that speaks to how much you need to have in order just to use our facilities. And so I'm not necessarily confused about your question. I just want to make sure I'm getting clarity on it as well. Are you concerned that people are coming in and profiting off of us? I was wanting to get clarity on that.
Yeah, so my question is, someone says, hey, yep, I'll provide this. We've got this, let's say we've identified this need. We need some kind of after-school daycare. And we say, and someone raises their hand and say, yep, I'll bring my business into the school district. I'm going to solve that need for you. But for the purpose of being a for-profit business, as opposed to, hey, I'm working with a community partner that is not in it for profit reasons, such as, like I said, like the Boys and Girls Club or something like that.
So we do have a TLC program that we offer through a grant that we work with, and so from a child care perspective, we do provide that in the elementary level and in both our middle schools. If I'm missing something, team, please help me, because that's not something that we would just open our doors for. You can't just come and make money off the school district. So just want to make sure that's clear.
So I would just remind the board that the district does have policy on public use of school facilities that prioritizes the use of facilities, with for-profit organizations being last. And part of that policy does provide for the district to provide charges to recover costs. Kind of looking for the fee schedule, and I don't see it jumping out right at me, but kind of keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. I think additionally, as the policy reads, it's got to be approved by the board, the partnerships itself too. So once approved within the school district with approval of the board. So to any of the partnerships, it would be the board approving to work with the partner.
So I've not seen that come on a board agenda. So unless I missed it, or it's been more than a year and a half.
I don't think existing partnerships come annually for renewal, kind of like addendums. If
Sure.
the person is already in place and there are no changes, then it wouldn't come back before the board on an annual basis.
Okay, nope, that makes sense.
What partnerships are in place right now?
So my question is then, do we have for-profit businesses that fall under this policy and that are following policy that come into our buildings and are being paid to administer daycare of some kind?
None to my knowledge, because I would certainly see the receipts for those, and the business office would maintain that. Coming back to the policy under consideration, I believe that the green highlighted wording is new. So daycare providers are covered under the current policy, and I think what's being suggested with the revision is to expand that to community partners as well. So,
Is it possible that the students and their families are paying let's say it doesn't cross your desk because it's not the school district funds, but are students and student families paying a for-profit business for this type of service on school property?
highly unlikely because the district would be charging those for-profit entities a facility use fee on a monthly basis.
Okay.
Because you can't have one without the other.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, it's fine if we're not doing it, that's fine. And it's fine to have a policy in case we want to do it, so I get it. But you're saying that, to our knowledge, it's not happening.
That's correct.
That works. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Okay. Is there a motion for O?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Brian Anderson, seconded by Brian Nichols. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And T, student conduct on school buses.
This brings up a situation that I observed, I don't know, it's been more than a couple, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago in my neighborhood. Everywhere I've ever lived, including that crazy state out west, when a school bus is dropping off students, the red light's flashed and a little stop sign comes out unless it's a 4-lane highway. And the only light that flashed was on top of the white lights, not the red lights. I talked to the driver, and she said that, no, we just have to have those on. And I don't know what the state law is in Wisconsin, but I thought you always had, and again, everywhere I've ever lived, the red lights come on when they're discharging students, and the sign on the side comes, and you have to stop. Because what happened that day is a car drove around the bus. And my concern when I saw that was, oh dear, a young student's going to go. They wouldn't have any reason to cross in front of the bus and go to the other side of the street because they all go down the street, but they're kids, and they're young kids. So that's a question I have.
Just for clarification, is that question related to this policy? This is student conduct on school buses?
Where it says 2A, where you say students cross the road when necessary after getting off the bus and in front of the bus. At least 10 feet in front of the bus. After getting a signal from the driver.
Are you proposing that the policy should read differently?
Well, again, I think that would depend on whatever the state law, the motor vehicle law for school buses. And I honestly don't know what it is. But again, everywhere I've ever lived, the red lights come on, flashing, and the stop sign comes on, moves out so that it can be observed all directions. It's a safety issue.
No, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
I'm just failing to make the connection between your concern and what's written in the policy.
Well, it doesn't address it really. I'm not saying that policy is written wrong. It's just based on my experience and knowledge that I thought it should read. But again, that depends on what the state law in Wisconsin is.
Okay, so I guess my question, just logistically for this evening, do you have an edit for the current policy?
No, I do not have a current edit. I think we should, before we go to the second reading, we should check with the regulations in the state.
Okay, thanks for that clarification.
Thank you.
Board President Levy, do you mind?
Go for it, Dr. Garrison.
Thank you. One of the things that I was thinking about with this, with your request is I can put a request out to, Transportation Department. It is different in every city. Board Member Nichols, for instance, in the city of Milwaukee, people are not required to stop even with the stop sign being on the bus. But in the city of Mequon, people are required to stop. And so it's just one of those things. So there was a conversation around taking the stop sign off if people aren't going to stop. That is something that we can just ask and inquire about. I'll be honest with you, I do not know the requirements for Beloit. However, if the stop sign is on the bus, typically people would stop if it's motion to be put on, which happens inside the bus. And so I can ask that question and we can seek clarity on that before the next meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Garrison.
Yeah, I don't, in my reading of, of the policy being that, with the first one, that the bus driver is in full charge of the bus, to me, that would be whether they make the sign come out or not, or they have the yellow flashing lights or the red lights, that they're going to operate it as they've been trained. I know, Mr. Chady, you have something to add to the discussion?
Yeah, just to try to provide an answer to this real quick, as I was looking at some resources from the State Department of Transportation, section speaks to don't pass a stopped school bus, and I'll just read an excerpt of this. In some urban areas, buses will signal with yellow lights or use red lights only in some parts of town. Motorists should observe school buses carefully for either the pass cautiously yellow light signal or the required full stop when a bus is flashing its red lights. I recalled through my past experiences that there were some differences, and I think it's related to, operating within a city setting, so to speak, an urban area, as noted here.
Yeah, and sometimes, the drivers are doing what the drivers are doing, which is contrary to what the law is, so.
If I may, Mr. Shady, what resource were you reading from again?
State of Wisconsin Department of Transportation, and the page heading that I'm on talks about don't pass a stopped school bus. And I can provide that link to Dr. Garrison to pass along to the board.
It may be helpful before we reach the second reading to have that document cross-referenced in this policy. Board Member Nichols, with that, is that agreeable?
I agree, 100%, yes. Thank you.
Okay. So
We can also put a call out to Jessica McCoy, our transportation provider over at Durham, to see if she have additional information, as a follow-up.
Okay. So is there a motion for?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Board Member Levy and seconded by Board Member Amy Levy and seconded by Board Member Greg Schneider. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And we are now to 7 future board meetings. Future board meetings, special board meeting, BEA negotiations, Monday, October 23rd at 6 p.m. Governance, Tuesday, October 24th at 5:30 p.m. Special board meeting, superintendent evaluation, Wednesday, October 25th at 6 p.m. Special board meeting, budget, Monday, October 30th at 6 p.m. Policy committee meeting, Wednesday, November 1st at 5:30 p.m. Business operations and finance, Tuesday, November 7th at 5:30 p.m. Human resource, Tuesday, November 7th at 6:30 p.m. And our regular board meeting, Tuesday, November 7th at 7 p.m.
Board President Levy, just a needed reminder that when we are looking at scheduling special meetings specifically, that all board members need to be polled, that meetings shouldn't just be decided and announced without board members having input on that.
We're now on to item 6A, executive session. Typically, the board meets in closed session, as we'll read our statutes. A motion may be made and a vote taken to convene the Board of Education in closed session pursuant to section 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses C, relative to considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. And section 19.85, parentheses 1, parentheses E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
Moved by Board Member Schneider, seconded by Board Member Brian Anderson. Mrs. Shope, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, you may. Tia Johnson.
Aye.
Brian Nichols.
Aye.
Brian Anderson.
Aye.
Amy Levy.
Aye.
Greg Schneider.
Aye.
And Sean Levy.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, and we will be adjourning from closed session. So we are done for the evening in our public meeting.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.